Let's discuss about OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities. Okay, so in the upcoming videos, we are going to discuss about the top 10 web application vulnerabilities. Okay, so that if we get to know about this vulnerability, it is easy for us to understand how to protect it. Okay, how to make a secured infrastructure for a application environment. Okay, so the very first one is SQL injection attack. Okay, this is the top one, means among the OWASP top 10, the first vulnerability is the number one vulnerability is injection attack. Okay, so first of all, sorry. Okay, so first of all, what does SQL injection attack means is attacker uses SQL commands to compromise the database of the server. Okay, so that's what it is. SQL injection is a exploit in which the attacker inserts a SQL command into a form or a parameter value rather than the legitimate data. We'll be doing it in our lab also. I'll show you how, maybe without using the legitimate credentials like username or password, how I can get access to a vulnerable web server. Okay, and or by making changes in the parameter, how I can get access to the unauthorized content. Means basically, if I am a user who don't have an access to some content, but using this SQL injection, how I'm getting an access to the content. So let's check about those steps in the lab also. And to exploit SQL injection flaw, the attacker must find a parameter that the web application passed through to a database so that he can get an access to it, right? So this vulnerability allows an attacker to interfere with queries that an application makes to its database. So basically, in SQL injection attack, attacker, the hacker, the malicious user, he's getting access to the database of the server. Okay, he's compromising it. He's compromising the database of the web server. In generally, allows an attacker to view the data. Okay, to view the data that are not normally able to retrieve, means which he is not authorized. He is retrieving a data which he is not authorized to do it. This might include a data belonging to other users or other data that application itself able to access. Okay, in many cases, attackers can modify or delete this data, causing persistent changes to the application content or behavior. See, means basically, if an hacker, if he compromises the, if the your database is compromised, okay, if he gains access to it, he can have an access to all the content in the database, and also he can make changes to it as well. Okay, so basically what it is just consider that there is a malicious user hacker, okay, over the network is connected to a web server. So when I say web server, in our previous videos we have discussed about the components of web server, right? So each web server, it has three component. One is the actual web server, and the application server means the application that is running on it. So one is the actual web server, the other one is the application that is running, the application server. The third one is the database server. Okay, the database server which is running on associated to it. Basically, the database server, it is the backend. Okay, backend of the application server, and application server is running on the web server. Okay, so in especially in the SQL nation, what happens, attacker gets access to the database. Okay, uh, in the general request, okay, in the general request, he will inject an SQL command. He will inject an SQL command, and he will get an access to the web server. Okay, because he is compromising the database server. Okay, and he can do it in either in the form as, like, say for example, in the field where you need to give the username and password credentials, right, your credentials, there he can do it, or he can make changes in the parameter. He can find the exact parameter which is going to the database, and he can inject any SQL command there. okay, and he can make any changes. So once he get access to this particular database, he can view or he can have an access to the entire database, okay, but he's not authorized to do it, okay. He may get an access to all the sensitive informations which is shared stored in the backend of this application, means in the database. If he want, he can retrieve those information for his own use, he can misuse it, or he can change the content here also. So basically SQL injection is a kind of an attack which the hacker uses, or the malicious user, he uses the SQL command uh, to compromise the database server. Maybe we can test this in our lab. Okay, so we have this vulnerable web server which is provided by FI, right? So I'm again saying that the whatever attack we are going to perform here in the lab, right? This is only for educational purpose, and we are doing this only in the this particular vulnerable web server, which is provided by FI for the lab purpose. Okay, please don't try these kinds of thing in the real time. And again, in the real time, every server will be having its own security parameters, but still. Okay, so whatever attack we are trying to perform here is in the lab is only for the educational purpose, to understand how to make the application secure. Okay, so as we said, now we are going to see how the SQL injection attack works. Okay, so as I said earlier, in a SQL injection attack, the hacker uses the SQL command to compromise the backend database server, or the web server. Okay, he can give the SQL, he can inject that SQL command either in the form, means either in the username, password, or the credential field, or wherever, if someone is asking for to fill the form there, or he can make changes in the parameter value also. Here now it's not asking for any parameter value, but maybe I can show you that as well. There are lot of SQL command, SQL script. Okay, you can also check in Google. Maybe I can give you one example, that is colon space or space 1 equal to 1 space hash. Okay, so if you see here, I'm just giving this username. Actually, this is a vulnerable auction server. Just consider that this is a web server. Okay, actually, we are using this only for a lab purpose. It's an auction web server. Okay, in the server we're going to do all our attacks, and also we are going to mitigate it also. Okay, so this is one of the SQL pattern. Okay, there are a lot of pattern that's available to do it. Maybe you can check in Google as well. There are a lot of pattern. I'm using this one pattern. Okay, when this condition satisfies, you will get an access. This is a common condition, right? 1 is equal to 1. So I'm just giving that in the username pad, and I'm giving OK. So without giving password, if you see, I get an access. And if you see the username, it is saying that this, but I have never registered such username earlier, right? So but, and also if you see, I have not given any password also. I just given this command, I just given this SQL command in the username, and I got the entire access. Okay, so this is how the SQL injection works. And the reason why we are telling that it is the most critical, means, see, I have not given the password, but I got the access to the server. If you see, not only to one particular user, I can get the access to entire database. Say for example, I'm going to your control panel. Okay, basically this control panel field will give a information of a particular user. Say for example, if I log in with any username as like student1 or student2, something like that, or with this username account, I may get access, or I'll see only this information about only this user. Okay, or if I access through maybe as like a student one. Okay, if I access through the account student one, when I click this control panel, I'll see only the information about student one. Okay, not about other students. But now, as I using this SQL injection, I got access to the entire database where I'm seeing, see, information about all the students or all the users who are registered here. Okay, so I can get an access to, means the hacker can get an access about all the sensitive information, as like, see, credit card information, as it is an auction site. The payment information is stored, right? The credit card information of all the users are stored, and email information, telephone number, address, so all the information is stored. So this is a kind of means this is one of the SQL injection attack where a hacker can get access to entire database of the server. Maybe I can show you one more thing. As I said earlier, I'll just log in with student one with password as password. If we log in with this credential, when I go to control panel, I'll see here is the option, right? The control panel. If you click here, see, now I am seeing only the information about this particular user. Okay, so when I log in through particular user account, only the information about that particular user is visible. However, in the previously when I used with the SQL injection, okay, I get an access to the entire database, which should not be, right? So that is how the hacker get the entire information, or he compromises the database of the server, and he get all the informations about the users available in the database. And if he want, he can alter the data as well. He can take it for his own use, he can sell it away, and he can also modify the data that is available in the database also using the SQL commands. Okay, and also maybe I can show you other thing also. So when it comes to okay, fine. So this is how SQL injection works. Okay,